So for a while, the Scream fandom has been going crazy with theories on who the new killers are and what they're up to and what is the agenda. So this may constitute major spoilers. I will say, even when the quote killers are revealed, still a lot of questions and a few details have not been clarified. Also, again, these leaks could be completely wrong. I've done some double checking and extra research, so it could be the studios trying to mislead a lot of the fandom. That's totally possible, and these are fake leaks. They're not very real. Take all this with a grain of salt. So, what is the revelation, or who are the killers? Well, apparently it is Detective Bailey, and he's been seen in the trailers, and Ethan. And I think the thing with Ethan is very rock solid. There's actually a lot of good evidence there because of the costumes and the way the clothing is done. And if you've seen the other Scream film, it shows a lot of continuity. So that one seems very real. However, Bailey still feels a little weird, and especially when the explanation is given and the connection to Stu, which I think most fans will probably find a little lame and weak. So what is the story? Well, essentially, Bailey and Ethan are part of a family, and they are connected to Stu. And so they want revenge on, I guess, this new gang for how Stu's name has been, I guess, defamed, and they want their revenge. So it's basically Stu's revenge through these people, and that's it. Now, obviously, the first question would be, well, wouldn't Bailey and Ethan want to go after Sidney? Well, there you go. So that's Hollywood marketing and capitalism for you. So yeah, it would have made more sense if Sidney was part of this film more centrally. I'm sure they're going to talk about Sidney, but as far as we know, Nev Campbell will not show up. It does feel a little weird that Sam and Tara will be the proxies, I guess, for Sidney, but there we are. Now with Ethan, this definitely feels real because if you have seen all the Scream films, yes, it's true. Each time the killer is revealed, they're wearing a certain piece of clothing. So that is very interesting, and that is a very strong clue. So the Ethan part seems actually very strong. And it's believable that Bailey could do these things because, again, this Ghostface seems very brutal, has a lot of resources, and is extremely tough and powerful. So it is all coming together. However, are they part of the Stu family, or is that a fake out? That, I think, is legitimate. We don't know for sure. It could be the studio just gave that idea with the early screenings, but that was never intended for the final film. It does feel a little bit of a weird retcon to just bring that element in. As far as we know, Stu is not in the film. They're going to talk about him, but he is not central to the story. Final added twist that there is a third killer. We don't know who this third killer is, so Bailey and Ethan were working with a third killer. The third person is not really clarified. There are clues who the third person is. I'm not going to talk about that because, again, that is genuinely speculative. We just don't know. The leaks don't really clarify. It seems that we're never really going to find out, at least in this film, who the third person is. And presumably the third person is being saved for the final film, which will have Sidney and kind of bring a resolution to all these stories. So what to think about all this? Well, even if Bailey and Ethan are not related to one another, it does follow the formula. Usually we have one main killer and a partner, and sometimes there is a kind of hidden mastermind in these films. So that's intriguing, but obviously this feels like yet another tease for another sequel, so that may be a little disappointing. However, the film overall seems strong, but even the reviews that were positive do admit that, yeah, the revelation of the killers feels a little contrived. So make of that what you will. But the film as a whole does seem strong from the reviews and the early reactions. So it will be a good film, but the actual killers themselves, not that interesting. It's just functional to the plot. So come in with somewhat mild expectations on the secrets of who the killers are. But who this third person is may actually be intriguing, but that will have to be for Scream 7. And there we are.